In this video, we'll be looking at arithmetic sequences. Arithmetic sequences are sequences where you add the same number each time. We call that number that you're adding the common difference. Now, sometimes you can just look at it and tell what you're adding, like this first one, we're adding 2 each time. And so we'd say, yes, it's an arithmetic sequence. Our common difference is 2. We'll use D to represent that common difference. Now, if you look at it and can't tell, then you can subtract. Take the second term, subtract the first. You get 2. Take the third term, subtract the second term. You get 2. Take the fourth term, subtract the third term. You get 2. Every time you get 2, so the common difference is 2. On problem number 2, if you can't tell what it is, then just subtract. So we'll take 2 minus a negative 10. That's the same as 2 plus 10, which is 12. 14 minus 2 is 12. So we have a common difference of 12. Now these common differences can be positive or negative. So sometimes we'll see it as a negative. On number 3, we'll do 12 minus 7 and get 5. Then if we do 19 minus 12, we get 7. These are not a common difference, so it's not an arithmetic sequence. We're not just adding the same number each time. Here we want to write an equation for the arithmetic sequence, and then we're going to simplify the right-hand side of the equation. A sub 1 is your first term, and D is your common difference. So A sub 1 here, first term, is negative 12. To figure out the common difference, we can subtract some of these values. So if we do negative 9 minus a negative 12, we get positive 3 for our common difference. Now we're going to plug it into this equation. So A sub n equals A sub 1, that's negative 12, plus n minus 1 times our common difference, which is 3. Now to simplify the right-hand side of this, we'll distribute. 3 times n is 3n. Three times negative 1 gives us negative 3. And then we can switch the order here. So if we rewrite it as A sub n equals 3n minus 12 minus 3. Negative 12 minus 3 is negative 15. So A sub n equals 3n minus 15 is the simplest way to write this. For number 5, our first term is negative 1. Common difference, if we take negative 7 minus a negative 1, we get negative 6. Substitute in A sub n equals A sub 1, which is negative 1, plus n minus 1 times our common difference, which is negative 6. To get rid of our parentheses, we'll distribute this. So we have A sub n equals negative 1 minus 6n, and then negative 6 times negative 1 is positive 6. We'll switch the order here and combine our like terms. So we have A sub n equals negative 6n plus 5. Here we're just going to write the next 3 terms. So figure out the pattern. You're adding 10 each time. So continue adding 10. So the next term would be 35 when we add 10. add 10 again, then we'd have 45, add 10 another time, and we'll have 55. So our next three terms are 35, 45, and 55. On 7, you may have to subtract those to figure out what you're adding each time. So if we do -1 minus 3, we get -4. If you do -5 minus -1, you get -4. So we are adding -4 each time. So continue that pattern. -5 plus -4 is -9. -9 plus -4 is -13. And -13 plus -4 is -17. Here we already have our equation for the sequence. We're trying to find the indicated term. So we want to find the ninth term here. So what that means is everywhere we see an n, we're going to replace that with 9. So we have 7 plus 9 minus 1 in parentheses times 3. Order of operations tells us to do it inside of grouping symbols first. So 9 minus 1 is 8. Next, we'll multiply. Multiplication comes before addition in our order of operations. 8 times 3 gives us 24. 7 plus 24 gives us 31 for the ninth term of this sequence. Find the 50th term here. We'll replace n with 50. We'll multiply before we add or subtract. -3 times 50 is -150. Then we'll subtract those, -160. Here we're finding the missing term in the sequence, so figure out your common difference. Here we're adding a -9, so continue that pattern, -1 plus -9. I'm sorry. So we're adding or subtracting 11 or adding a -11. My fault. If you do -1 minus 10, you see the -11. So now let's do -1 plus -11. And we get -12. -12 plus -11 does give us -23, so we should be confident in the answer. Over here, let's find the common difference. 0 minus 9 gives us -9. So we're adding -9 to 0. So 0 plus -9 is -9. You can check that that pattern's still working. If you do -9 plus -9, you get -18. All right. On these, they're giving us two different terms, and we've got to figure out a third term. So let's substitute in. A sub 4 is 27. A sub 1 is 12. And then we're going to replace n with 4. Now 4 minus 1 is 3, so we have 3d. Because if we can find the common difference, then we can build the equation and find the indicated term. So subtract 12 from each side. And so we have 15 equal to 3 times d. To get rid of multiplying by 3, divide by 3. And so our common difference is 5. So now we have enough to build the equation for the sequence. So we've got a sub n equals our first term, which is 12, plus n minus 1 times common difference, which is 5. Now, to find the 10th term, replace n with 10. and simplify the right side. Ten minus 1 is 9. 9 times 5 gives us 45. We'll multiply before we add. And then we'll add that. A sub 10 equals 57. So we found our 10th term. Same idea on 13. We have the 7th term, so I'm going to replace n with 7. So our 7th term, negative 3, is equal to our first term, 21, plus our n here is 7. And our common difference, we don't know. Seven minus 1 gives us 6. Two-step equation here to solve for d. Subtract 21 from each side. We get negative 24 equals 6d. Divide both sides by 6. So we have negative 4 equal to d. So we have our common difference here. Now we want to find the 20th term. All right, now find the 20th term. Let's build our equation for the sequence. So a sub n equals our first term, 21, plus n minus 1 times the common difference that we just found, negative 4. To find the 20th term, replace n with 20 and simplify the right side. Multiply, we get 19. Or sorry, subtract. 20 minus 1 is 19. And then we'll multiply. So we have 21 minus 76. So negative 55 is our 20th term. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Feel free to subscribe and also check out my website for additional videos.